Cyberpunk. The term was first used to describe a new genre in science fiction literature. Cyberpunk. It was inaugurated with the publication of William Gibson's Neuromancer, winner of the Hugo, Nebula, Locus, and Philip K. Dick Awards.
Oggi viviamo immersi in un mondo dove il confine tra reale e virtuale è sempre più sottile. Le tecnologie digitali non solo trasformano il nostro modo di comunicare, ma anche quello di percepirci. Possiamo sperimentare esperienze immersive, assumere identità diverse, abitare spazi che esistono solo sullo schermo. Ma quando è cominciato tutto questo? E soprattutto, come ha influenzato la nostra idea di corpo, di sessualità, di identità? In questo video racconteremo il libro Le radici dell'Hacktivism in Italia di Tommaso Tozzi, un racconto che intreccia arte, attivismo, tecnologia e ci guida attraverso concetti, oggetti centrali, realtà virtuali, corpo, post-organico, sesso virtuale e identità fluide. Perché ciò che poteva sembrare solo una moda passeggera degli anni 90 è diventato la normalità della nostra epoca e per capire davvero dobbiamo tornare alle sue radici. Negli anni 90, con l'arrivo del World Wide Web, si è aperto un enorme dibattito culturale. La realtà virtuale è uscita dalla fantascienza ed è diventata promessa concreta. Pionieri come Jaron Lanier hanno contribuito a rendere il cyberspazio accessibile, trasformandolo in una nuova frontiera esistenziale. Ma anche in Italia si è sviluppato un pensiero critico e creativo intorno a questi temi.
Well, this is our virtual reality glove. It's called the Data Glove. And the idea is that you can put on this glove, and the glove lets you feel a world that doesn't exist as if it's real and pick up things in the world as if they're real. So it lets you reach into an imaginary world. And these are the special glasses called the iPhones that you put on. And when you put them on, you're seeing inside an imaginary world instead of inside the physical world. So the idea is that by wearing computerized clothing right over your sense organs, you transport your sensory system into a reality that can be of any description. You have a special pair of goggles and a special glove in your house. You put them on, and suddenly you experience yourself to be in a different room. You're not in your living room anymore. You're in a different room. This different room has similar dimensions, but it's altered. It has, for one thing, a set of shelves along one wall, and in all those shelves are little sort of fish bowls. But if you look in the fish bowls, there aren't fish. Instead, there's little miniature people walking around, and they're all having different adventures. Some of them are clustered around a model of a bridge and are working on it. Another group of them are all playing baseball. There's like little people running around, and another group of them are working in a large field that has that looks like a statistical field of many points, and they're running around on it. And so what you can do is you can simply place your hand or your head into any one of those fish bowls, and suddenly you are in that scene with those people. And one of them might turn out to be for work, another might be for play, and another one might be for education.
I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle, here is my spout. When you tip me over, tea comes out. So tip me over and pour me out.
Oggi, quando parliamo di realtà virtuale, pensiamo subito ai visori VR, al metaverso o ai videogiochi immersivi, ma le prime esperienze di VR in senso ampio sono nate molto prima. Già negli anni 80 e 90, negli ambienti hacker, artistici e cyberpunk, si parlava del cyberspazio come un luogo altro, uno spazio dove essere altrove. Piattaforme testuali come i Mood e i Muse, specie di chat immersive con elementi di gioco di ruolo, permettevano di creare personaggi, ambientazioni e relazioni completamente finte, ma vissute in modo reale. Bastava il testo e l'immaginazione faceva il resto. Per molti utenti, come esperienze diventavano un'estensione autentica della propria esistenza. Questo ha cambiato tutto. Per la prima volta era possibile separare il corpo fisico dall'identità vissuta. In rete si poteva essere chiunque, in qualsiasi forma. Realtà virtuale non significava solo simulazione tecnologica, ma esperienza emotiva, mentale e simbolica. Un vero e proprio laboratorio culturale. Anche in Italia, negli anni 90, si è assistito a un'esplosione di entusiasmo. La realtà virtuale veniva presentata come la porta d'accesso a un nuovo mondo, ma anche come occasione per rimettere in discussione le regole. Teorici come Antonio Caronia e Franco Berardi e riviste underground come Decoder si interrogavano: la VR è davvero uno spazio liberatorio o solo una nuova illusione del capitalismo? Il cyberspazio diventava quindi terreno di tensione, tra utopia e controllo, tra libertà creativa e nuove dipendenze.
One of the best things about going to the cinema is that your mind gets transported far away from reality. Of course, I can only enter the story mentally. There's no way yet that I can physically get involved in all that action. But in the not too distant future, a helmet like this could help me to believe I'm in any number of three-dimensional worlds by putting me right in the middle of all sorts of interactive computer-generated adventures. Since the scenes don't really exist, programmers around the world experimenting with this concept call it virtual reality. The first Tomorrow's World presenter to look into virtual reality was Maggie back in 1986, when it was thought its first application would be in computer-aided design.
And by looking through that window, you're able to see into the world of the computer. And by wearing the helmet, you're able to see it in 3D. So down there's the television I was talking about, with my glass on the top. Move around, and up comes my flash new table. There it is. So everything is in the room just where I said it was.
Since then, a new helmet has been developed, so that the single TV set has been replaced by two liquid crystal screens, one for each eye. And now you get a full colour illusion of 3 dimensions and in much greater detail. Of course, at home we can only offer you a single screen image, so you'll just have to believe me when I tell you that the sensation of depth that I am seeing is quite convincing. Well, this is some sort of landscape, hills over there, perhaps a lake, that white piece. Turning round, aha, a room. Let's go and see what happens in there. Some mysterious figures over to my right. That's a door straight ahead. Oh, I'm just about to bump into an aeroplane, so we'll just move round, perhaps go over there to the corner and see what's around this way. Behind me is a window and a mysterious blue figure. There's a table over there, and over my left shoulder, an orange figure. Well, these changing images are being generated by a computer in direct response to the movements of my head. I'm actually standing in an invisible electromagnetic field being transmitted from up there. Signals from 3 perpendicular receiving coils and a sensor on the helmet here tell the computer where my head is in that field and which direction my head is pointing in. And the computer then produces the appropriate view. And as you've seen, I can also try and move around objects in this non-existent room. But it doesn't stop at helmets. Electronic gloves and suits have been added to gear worn by virtual realists in California. The computer images can then follow all sorts of body movements and even let you handle virtual objects.
I'm going to try this new switch, see if I can turn on the fan.
You can move around buildings, perhaps before they're actually constructed, just by pointing to the place you want to view from. Even car designers could test drive new models before committing themselves to the real thing. The technique, as we showed on last week's programme, could also be used to remotely control a robot, perhaps in space. And in medicine, the bones of this skeleton hand, produced from real body scanning data, can be studied as they follow the movements of the glove. Virtual reality's potential applications are limited only by our imagination. And the technology can even stimulate that when you let it take you into imaginary worlds like those created by the American programmers.
Some other computers of the era might accomplish full-color screens by having one pixel represented by 4 bits, and thus you get 16 colors, and you could still nicely fit 2 pixels evenly into 1 byte. You wouldn't want to do an odd number of bits because this would not line up and therefore overly complicate the video RAM lookup for both the video hardware and the coder. That means systems employing this type of graphics usually have to go with 2 colors, 16 colors, or 256 colors to make it fit nicely. Now let's take a look at how the Amiga does things. Imagine this being our first bit plane. Obviously there'd be way more pixels than what are shown here, but for illustration purposes, bear with me. On the Amiga, you can activate anywhere from 1 to 5 bit planes, and each one of these is sort of like a monochrome screen, and these are layered on top of each other. So in this example with 5-bit planes, let's look at the top right pixel as an example. The video chip will take all 5 overlapping pixels and use this to form a binary number between 0 and 31. Even in 16-color mode, the Amiga does graphics that are far superior to the Commodore 64. So for example, here's the same game on the Amiga and the C64. Both are running in the same resolution and color depth. But the Amiga looks so much better. Now this is mostly due to the fact that the Amiga doesn't have any color cells to worry about. You can put any color pixel next to any other color pixel. Also, the Amiga has more RAM, so more complex graphics can be stored. The Denise and the Agnes actually work together for a lot of functions, and while I said the Agnes is a memory controller, that would be something of an understatement. Within the Agnes, you will find copper and blitter. Agnes is actually responsible for producing the vertical and horizontal sync positions of the screen, and the copper makes use of this feature. It can be programmed to automatically change registers within the video display at a specific time during the screen draw. So for example, this is a simple 2-color bitmap, but the copper changes the color as the screen is being drawn. No extra video RAM is required to accomplish this. It can also change things like sprite positions or really just about anything you want. The blitter, which is short for block image transfer, is designed to copy small or large chunks of data without the CPU having to do the work. And so when you see something like this, for example, you'd be tempted to think these asteroids are hardware sprites, but they aren't. Sprites are much smaller than this. The blitter works so well that the Amiga honestly doesn't even need sprites most of the time. The Paula is often referred to as the sound chip, but it's also in charge of running the floppy drives, serial port, joystick buttons, and it's the interrupt controller. The Paula is not a traditional synthesizer. In a nutshell, it's a 4-channel digital sample player. In fact, it's surprisingly similar to a Casio SK series sampling keyboard of the same era. This gave the Amiga a unique sound for the era. This is an example of a 4-channel mod tracker file, which was designed for music composition on the Amiga.
Nel mondo digitale il corpo si trasforma, non è più solo carne e ossa, è simbolo, interfaccia, un progetto. Si può modellare, moltiplicare e ridefinire, e questa fluidità cambia anche la nostra idea di identità. Artisti come Stelarc hanno spinto al limite il concetto stesso di corpo. Nelle sue performance ha integrato protesi robotiche e tecnologia al suo corpo, mostrando che il corpo umano può diventare una piattaforma evolutiva.
Early morning, but because of the difficulty of keeping the structure wedged between the rocks, by the time we were ready, the tide had come in. There was quite a stiff and blustery breeze blowing, and it was so threatening that we had to do the insertions on shore and then actually wade out. It was probably the longest of the suspensions, because I was probably suspended about 20 minutes in isolation, but it probably took 20 minutes for the assistants to go back to shore, and about 20 minutes for them to come back and cut me down. We were very fortunate because this was next to the Museum of Contemporary Art. The Museum of Contemporary Art was a pretty uninteresting space, and sort of a fairly, well, it was a white carpeted space, and weren't so interested in doing a performance in that environment. And fortunately, there was a factory next door that had just recently been vacated. And when I looked inside to see, whether it'd be a suitable suspension space, we found this, this gantry crane with its control box and all, and so I could sort of control the body up and down, move along, move backwards, sideways. So again, it was this idea of choreographing the body's motions in space. For me, it was this relationship between this machine and the body. People tend to focus on the body itself, but it is this choreography between the machine and the body. And no one was told what was going to happen. Most people thought it was just going to be an up and down job. Well, I only expected to do one suspension, but having sort of achieved one, I guess the next couple had to do with, the physical challenge of doing another one in a different position. But I guess after the first half a dozen, it wasn't any more the physical challenge. I'd shown that it was possible to do, but rather the different conceptual and sculptural possibilities that these suspension events generated. Between 1970 and 1975, I'd done a series of suspension events with ropes and harnesses, and those suspension events were also fully amplified. So brain waves, heartbeat, blood flow, muscle signals were indicative of the body's condition during these suspensions, during these performances. So the notion of amplifying the body begins around 1970. The last performance event involving suspending the body was at an abandoned monorail station in Ofuna in Japan. In this case, the body was suspended with third hand attached, amplified body signals and sounds from the abandoned monorail structure. The body had a control box which enabled it to actuate the motor and pull and lower the body up and down. This performance was about 30 minutes, whilst the suspended body controlled the motions of its three hands. It sort of choreographed and composed the amplified body signals and sounds.
ORLAN, invece, ha usato la chirurgia plastica per trasformare il proprio volto, sfidando i canoni di bellezza e genere.
She's had implants put into her forehead to replicate Mona Lisa's brow. This video shows ORLAN's 7th medical procedure, which is a prosthetic chin being put in to replicate Botticelli's Venus. The work reveals the gruesome reality of cosmetic surgery and also opens up questions and conversations around the pursuit of a perfect body.
Queste sperimentazioni ci obbligano a ripensare l'autenticità. Se possono scegliere di essere online, se posso reinventarmi attraverso un avatar o una modifica fisica, chi sono davvero? La sociologa Turkle ha definito il computer il nostro secondo io, ma questa libertà è sempre emancipatoria?
% of Americans say that in their last conversation, they took out a phone and just made it part of the interaction. That somehow they looked something up, they checked something, they added to the conversation in some way or used the phone in the middle of the conversation. 89%. And 82% say that it diminished the quality of the conversation. And that's basically what I found. I found people saying, here's what I do in my family, here's what I do at work, and this somehow doesn't feel right to me. And so that's why I feel, when people say things to me like, the horse is out of the barn, we're sort of on a path that we can't turn back from, we all are addicted to our phones. I think not so fast, because people are involved in doing something, and I've done really hundreds and hundreds of interviews in so many stages and ages and walks of life. People are not in a stable place with their new ways of living with this phone.
Già negli anni 90 si rifletteva sul rischio di ridurre l'identità digitale a una vetrina, governata dalle logiche di mercato. Enrico Ferrari, ad esempio, avvertiva che l'anonimato poteva essere tanto liberatorio quanto alienante.
This woman, who we'll call Jamie, is an addict. Her drug of choice? The internet.
Hey, the mailman's been here.
The first thing I do when I come home from wherever I am is get on the computer, no matter what.
She's not alone. At any given time, 35 million Americans can sign on to the net, and according to experts, 150,000 of them are addicts.
You've got mail.
The average user logs on 7 hours a week, but for some, surfing the net can be habit-forming.
The computer, for me, is like alcohol for alcoholics. Alcohol makes them feel that they can be somebody they're not. More friendly, more outgoing, more vivacious. I get quite a bit of mail.
In chat rooms throughout cyberspace, it's cozy and very safe.
People get tongue-tied in person, and I don't get finger-tied.
Jamie lives with a roommate and a variety of pets. She's on disability, so she is home and often spends up to 30 hours a week on the computer.
I've jeopardized friendships. I forget to feed the animals. If there's something I don't like to do that I need to do, I'll go on the computer, and that's my excuse.
Do you easily lose track of time when you're online? Have you lost interest in other activities?
These questions are all part of a survey conducted by Dr. Kimberly Young at the University of Pittsburgh's Bradford, Pennsylvania campus.
Our mother is addicted to chat rooms, and it is causing the breakup of our family. The thing that makes an addiction is really these vices that go out of control, that cannot be stopped. They gotta turn it on, they gotta check their email, they gotta have their fix.
Like other addictions, surfing the internet can take control of people's lives, and in some cases, totally destroys them.
Can you believe what's possible these days?
People have tried to go into counseling for this, and the treatment isn't just going cold turkey, but finding a happy medium and balancing the internet with the rest of their lives.
If not, then as the internet grows, so will the number of addicts.
Attention, attention. This is an America Online alert. You have been on too long. You must disconnect. You are addicted.
Il sesso virtuale è uno dei temi più controversi e più fraintesi del mondo digitale, ma è anche una delle prime forme di intimità sperimentata online. Fin dagli albori della chat e dei forum, le persone hanno usato la rete per esplorare il desiderio di forme nuove. Senza contatto fisico, senza limiti geografici, si potevano vivere esperienze erotiche attraverso avatar, testo, immagini e immaginazione. Nei mood e nei giochi di ruolo online si scrivevano vari e propri incontri sessuali, dove il linguaggio diventava strumento di intimità. Negli anni 90 la stampa ha parlato molto di cybersex, spesso banalizzandolo, ma per molti, soprattutto per chi viveva desideri non normativi, il sesso virtuale era un'occasione per liberarsi dai ruoli imposti. Velena, artista e attivista transgender, vedeva nella rete un'opportunità per esplorare liberamente l'identità di genere e il desiderio. La tecnologia, in questo senso, diventava un alleato per rompere i tabù. Certo, ci sono anche i rischi. Il distacco corporeo può ridurre l'empatia, rendere il desiderio meccanico. Il consenso online è un tema ancora poco regolamentato, ma resta un fatto: il sesso virtuale ha trasformato il nostro modo di desiderare. È una nuova grammatica del corpo, anche se quel corpo online può essere chiunque.
Cybersex is a very interesting sort of phenomena. Cybersex is sort of again, a function of the internet, a function of computers and sort of things like that. But what it provides is a mechanism that is heretofore never been available, where people can communicate and talk with other human beings and fantasize and to discuss sexual content and to engage in a virtual sexual relationship that, at least in their minds, is real. It's not, I don't think we have to worry about AIDS and things like that because there is no physical contact, but the mechanisms and the desires of sex and sexual intimacy and sexual contact can be lived out via the internet and cybersex.
Crash decided to test the toy on 2 willing victims. First, it's on with the suit, the heat thigh strap, vibrating nipple clamp, electrified pouch, and it's all plugged into the main. With their control pad, each player can choose their body. See how we get on. I'm moving in closer to you. I'm bringing you in towards me.
Oh, that's all right.
No, this time I can't feel anything. Didn't exactly make the sparks fly. So for now...
Are all sexual interactions online unhealthy?
I wouldn't think so. I would, in fact, envision that, down the road, a decade from now, that there would be more normalizing of this sort of interaction, particularly for individuals who live outside of larger communities, larger cities, and things like that. But right now, it's been sort of capitalized on by people that are sort of seeking out that sexual arousal and intimacy in a vicarious way, in a safe way. You can't reject me because of the way I look. And
You've heard of computer sex, but is there really such a thing? Absolutely. Having sex with an online partner is easy to learn. It's climax. We'll also visit others who have mastered the art of one-handed typing. So let's get started. So I'm just kind of gonna get a general idea of who's here, what's going on. Now let's see if we can find someone interested in having a little cyber sex. And click send and wait for a response. And he puts yes, with lots of S's.
Rivoluzione, attenzione, la mia era una rivoluzione.
Ma se l'uomo non va verso il sogno, verso che cosa va?
essere crocifissi prima di interrogarci e poi ci sbatterono in galera.
Trascinati fuori i carabinieri coi capelli per terra.
Presi dei
da questa cosa di autorità, di formalismo, che noi dovevamo rompere gli schemi.
L'unico modo per far debordare la sessualità come processo liberatorio era quella di portarla al suo culmine come appunto pornografia.
Libertà di pornografia come unico mezzo per vincere la pornografia.
23 giorni di sesso selvaggio, 23 notti di sesso ancora più selvaggio, più selvaggio.
Chi è Helena Velena?
Un'aliena, senza ombra di dubbio.
Sei nata maschio, hai fatto il salto di genere e ora sei definitivamente lesbica.
Sono lesbica, forse definitivamente non lo so, perché niente è definitivo e niente deve esserlo. E sono sicuramente però transgender.
Non era più facile amare le donne da uomo come sei?
Non avrei amato le donne come le amo adesso se non fossi stata in grado di sentirmi anch'io donna. E se magari sei contro la tecnologia, ma capisci che le cose così non vanno più, non funzionano più, non funziona la politica, non funziona la qualità della vita, non funziona la nostra vita sentimentale, amorosa, sessuale, qualunque altra cosa, sappiate che anche in questo modo comunque sesso è libertà. Sesso e libertà, sesso e libertà, sesso e libertà, sesso e libertà. E allora dobbiamo iniziare una nuova forma di rivoluzione sociale che parta da noi, dalle nostre voglie, dai nostri desideri e che sia intensamente e profondamente eversiva, godimentosa libertà. Helena Velena.
Senza un futuro che non sia scontato.
Che differenza c'è tra erotismo e pornografia?
Ehi baby, il fatto è che mentre l'erotismo è una sorta di prezzemolo, un ingrediente che serve per abbellire tutti i prodotti che si vendono, dai liquori a qualunque altra cosa, la pornografia è la cosa netta, dura, precisa, diretta, è la cosa vera. Quindi non solo nel sesso, ma anche in musica. Hardcore si chiama ed è l'intensità, il nocciolo espressivo di una cosa. Ciò che è hardcore, e quindi se lo vogliamo chiamare pornografico, è ciò che è più intenso e viscerale.
Helena, tu sei una provocatrice per antonomasia, ma la gente comune accetta le provocazioni, la gente comune accetta questa condizione transgender?
Io sono quello che voglio essere, ho deciso di esserlo, non mi importa qual è il giudizio, qual è la logica che le altre persone applicano su di me, sono orgogliosa di quello che sono transgender.
Sai benissimo che comunque stai parlando sempre di una minoranza. Cosa vuoi dire per convincere gli altri a unirti al tuo discorso, alla tua protesta?
Che la vita che gli altri sono costretti a fare è una vita grana, una vita di sacrifici, sia che siano di sinistra o sia che si pensino di destra, è una vita priva di soddisfazioni e le cui uniche soddisfazioni sono date dai consumi delle merci. Io quello che propongo è di riscoprire e di reinventare le nostre pulsionalità, il nostro corpo, soprattutto il nostro corpo, e quindi di diventare rivoluzionari in questa cosa, cioè nella volontà di godere e di essere felici al di fuori delle merci, ma rispetto alle nostre pulsioni. Io questa cosa, tra le altre cose, la chiamo transgender.
Abbiamo attraversato un mondo di corpi digitali, identità fluide, desideri interattivi. Un mondo che non è più un futuro, ma presente. Le tecnologie che ridefiniscono il corpo e l'identità sono già qui e plasmano la nostra quotidianità. Tutto questo non è solo una questione tecnica, è culturale, politica e esistenziale. La domanda non è solo come usiamo la rete, ma chi diventiamo mentre la abitiamo. Il cyberspazio è un laboratorio, come ricordava Tommaso Tozzi e come hanno dimostrato movimenti come lo Strano Network, autori del primo sciopero telematico nel 1995. La rete può anche essere uno spazio di lotta e trasformazione. Oggi, nell'epoca dei social e del metaverso, ci interroghiamo ancora: la tecnologia ci libera o ci imprigiona? Possiamo ancora distinguere il reale dal virtuale? Siamo noi a usare le macchine o le macchine a usare noi? Forse la risposta sta proprio nella sperimentazione. Come dicevano gli attivisti italiani, non idolatrare le macchine, usale, e soprattutto non dimenticare che anche in mezzo ai pixel e codici quello che ci rende umani è la capacità di dare senso, relazione e desiderio a tutto ciò che tocchiamo, anche se non possiamo toccarlo davvero.